Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. My name's Heidi Raphael. I am Vice President of the Board of Managers and of the History Museum and President of the Buffalo Broadcasters Association. And we are so happy to have you here today. This is the first time we have done this event, and we are just so thrilled to have William Fichtner here and his family. And it's just, he's such an ambassador to Buffalo, and we're so grateful for him taking the time to fly to Buffalo today to do this. Absolutely. Before we begin, there are a few people that we would like to thank for being here, including Steve Monaco, who provided the gorgeous flowers from Shelley's Florist, Avenue Art and Frame, friends and family of William Fichtner, the Buffalo History Museum Board of Managers and staff, and our wonderful volunteers who are so dedicated to the museum and are here whenever we have something going on, and we're so grateful to them. At this time, it is a privilege to introduce the executive director of the Buffalo History Museum. She's outstanding and does such a great job and is such an ambassador, not only for the museum, but for the city. Please welcome Melissa Brown.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Heidi. I'm so pleased to be here this afternoon with all of you on such a wonderful occasion to celebrate a story that is ordinary and extraordinary. That's something we say here a lot at the History Museum. We celebrate the stories from the ordinary to the extraordinary, and this has elements of both. And we're so pleased that Bill agreed to be here with us today and share his story. I would like to also say some thank yous. Today's sponsors and partners, the Buffalo Evening News, the Buffalo Broadcasters Association, and the Buffalo Niagara Film Commission, particularly Rich Wall and Tim Clark, for helping us on the production of today's event. We would not have been able to do that without our partners, so a big thank you to them. Also, thank you to Erie County. Erie County is one of our largest providers of support for the History Museum, and they are an extreme partner in everything we do here. So I do thank Erie County today. I know Joe is here somewhere for the county executive, Joe McMahon. Thank you. Also, the city of Buffalo. So the lights have gone down a little bit, but we have a fresh paint job here today due to a donor to complement our wonderful new lights. That was part of a near $1 million investment from the city of Buffalo into the History Museum in the last year. So I thank the city of Buffalo and Mayor Brown for the shared stewardship for this shared stewardship on this national landmark building, really a significant structure in and of itself. So now we're ready to get into the program. I would like to now introduce Cindy Abbott Letro, who, aside from being a legendary broadcaster herself and the chairwoman of the Buffalo Niagara Film Commission, she is also a distinguished member of our Red Jacket honorees. So she is particularly important to us here at the History Museum as well. So Cindy, I'd like to welcome you up at this time to start our program. Thank you.
Thank you all. I have my black jacket on today and lavender blouse, but the Red Jacket Award is a wonderful award that was bestowed upon me, and I thank the History Museum, which is really one of our gems. I want to thank all of you here because with the Film Commission, many times there are people here in this audience that have helped us make movies, and I think that a lot of times people don't know there really is a formal commission. They just know Rich Wall and Tim Clark are out there asking the mayor or the county executive if they can close a street, put a cone in front of their driveway, especially close down Route 33 for a length of time when the Ninja Turtles was shooting. But it has been around for a good number of years, and fortunately I have been part of that for that good number of years. And thanks to, I think it was originally the BNE and then Erie County, the city came on board, and Niagara Falls under their tourism council under John Percy have all been supportive of this because, number one, what the Film Commission is trying to do, sure, we're trying to make movies, but what we're really trying to do is create jobs. And by creating jobs, we're also rebranding our area. We're for anyone that's made a film here, we have incredible stories of people that love this city. They love the locations that they have here. They love the way that they've been treated. And we really are building an industry here. So this would not happen without the financial support of the city, county, and Niagara Falls. So they all deserve a great big thank you. So today, we are really lucky because we have a remarkable actor that we're going to be featuring, and we have a remarkable journalist who is going to be doing the interview. Jeff Simon is legendary, and this I cannot believe, and maybe he didn't want me to say this, but do you believe somebody has worked for over 50 years for the same employee? That is pretty amazing. He started as a copy boy. Okay, he's a Nichols grad, but he started as a copy man, a copy kid. All right. And it didn't take him long before he found his niche, and he writes about movies, books, television, music, you name it. He seems to have an opinion and actually is able to write in a very informed way about it. One of his first assignments was Woodstock, and in his career, he has interviewed so many people, celebrities from Fred Astaire to Joe Namath, musicians from Count Basie to Jerry Lee Lewis, and authors from Anthony Burgess to Leslie Fieldler. He has won numerous awards from the local branch of the American Newspaper Guild and Associated Press, and has been nominated, as Jeff would say, more than a few times, actually a bunch of times, for the Pulitzer Prize by the Buffalo News. Whether he's writing about music, books, or movies, his style of writing is entertaining and intelligent. You know immediately where Jeff stands. You might not always agree with him, and I'm one of those people that sometimes just goes, "What are you talking about?" But you are always entertained and always captivated by the way he turns a phrase. So please welcome to the stage, Jeff Simon. Bill Fichtner, or William Fichtner, if we're being formal today, is one of Hollywood's most distinctive and familiar faces, with a distinctive reputation for versatility and talent, whether in comedy or drama, action or character study. He also happens to be a hometown boy who has never forgotten the community that nurtured him. Growing up in Cheektowaga with three sisters, actually four sisters, right? Four sisters, three of them are here, down in the second row, who we'll be talking to maybe later. He graduated from Berryvale High and went on to graduate from Farmingdale State College and Brockport, gaining a degree in criminal justice. But instead of following that path, he followed his heart to New York and acting. He studied at the American Academy of Dramatic Arts and began building a truly impressive body of roles on stage, television, and film. Instead of me talking about those roles, let's take a look at that impressive career.
Banned for life. That's a long time.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I sent a guy to deliver the package. He didn't call. Is everything right?
And let this be a lesson to all of us in life. Nothing ventured. Nothing gained.
Nobody make a move! Nobody! Stay down! You have any idea who you're stealing from? You and your friends are dead! Draw fire! When this asshole stops to reload, cover me! Go! Sir! Action!
Epic film, epic journey. Still haven't told me why you're here, Lewis. I'm not a cop anymore.
That's what your father and I were trying to do.
Today, we celebrate
Please welcome William Fichtner.
Hold
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Well, you know what? Sit down, because the mayor of the city has something that he wants to share, so that before Jeff starts, I'm going to let Mayor Byron Brown do his presentation.
Thank you very much, Cindy. And let me just thank Melissa Brown and the members of the Board of Trustees for your wonderful management of this tremendous cultural resource that we have in our community. And Cindy, thank you to you and Tim Clark and Rich Wall for all you do, all your work to bring film to the Buffalo Niagara region. Let's give them a round of applause. Well, as mayor of the city of Buffalo, I am very pleased to join all of you in welcoming William Fichtner, our acting superstar, back to Buffalo and Western New York. Bill comes back to this community often, and over the years, I am very pleased to say he has become a friend. He is a wonderfully warm person and incredibly down to earth, and loves this community passionately. Bill, I have a presentation in your honor on behalf of myself and Erie County Executive Mark Poloncarz. And this is kind of fitting because the governor of the state of New York, Andrew Cuomo, calls County Executive Poloncarz and I the Batman and Robin of government. But, you know, we used to fight over who was Batman and who was Robin, so we changed it to the Batman and Batman of government. And that gives me an idea for another movie. And so if you need Mark and I to be in that, let us know. Whereas actor William E. Fichtner was raised in Cheektowaga, New York, and is a proud 1974 graduate of Maryvale High School, and whereas he continues to garner major acting roles throughout the world in such blockbusters as The Lone Ranger, Batman, The Dark Knight, Black Hawk Down, Perfect Storm, the upcoming release of Independence Day: Resurgence, and whereas he is a lifelong fan and supporter of the Buffalo Bills and Buffalo Sabres, and whereas he was privileged to narrate NFL Films 30-4-30, The Four Falls of Buffalo, and whereas no matter where he is in the world, his diet will always feature the presence of Weber's mustard, Salen's hot dogs, true to Buffalo-style chicken wings, and whereas he travels extensively throughout the world, always remaining a passionate ambassador for his hometown. Now, therefore, we, City of Buffalo Mayor and Erie County Executive, rightfully and respectfully proclaim it William E. Fichtner Day in Western New York on the occasion of his appearance at the inaugural Behind the Screen event at the Buffalo History Museum, and offer sincere congratulations and best wishes for many more years as a motion picture superstar. Congratulations, Bill.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll let Bill settle down. Do you want me to safeguard that for you?
Nobody's touching this one.
All right. I was thinking I could get my own proclamation. Just one point here. This is Jeff and Bill's show now for the next 30 to 40 minutes. And if you have questions, be thinking of them, because I'm going to be coming out in the audience after Jeff has completed his thorough investigation of Mr. Fickner. Thank you.
Hello.
Hello, I have a dame named after me. It doesn't get any better than that.
We just met, by the way.
On the phone, what, 2 days ago?
We talked yesterday. And the first thing I need to say is I see about 4 or 5 people in the audience tonight who would be better sitting here than me. What you're looking at is a writer. I'm not somebody who does things in public. There's Mike, there's Don. Didn't I see Rich here somewhere? He's Rich. Yeah, Rich is here somewhere. Yeah, I mean, these are people who should be doing this, not me. I don't do things in public. What I do, something like this, I would be doing in a hotel room on a junket where the two of us would be talking about something, and luckily he would be brilliant and I would be acceptable. All right, that would be the way it would work. All right, first of all,
But, can I say one thing?
Sure.
Before we start? I was a week ago. I was doing some radio interviews, some Western New York radio interviews, and I was with Janet and Nick on 98.5, right? KISS, in the morning, and she says to me on the phone, and mind you, I got up at 5 o'clock in the morning to do this 3-hour time difference. And she says to me on the phone, "So are you gonna, like be all Hollywood and wear black?" So, if anybody knows her, would you tell her that I didn't wear all? Didn't wear all black?
because you're talking about things we didn't wear, I didn't wear it.
You didn't? I missed the tie too.
Because if he wore the tie, I would have worn this.
But, and also, we have our film commissioner, Tim Clark, mentioned to me a couple of weeks ago that there was a mom and her son, Deloria and Sarek. They came here from Texas, somewhere in Texas, to be at this event today. Where are they? They're right there. Okay. So hey, how are you? So you're a Black Hawk Down fan?
Yes, sir.
Right, okay. Your mother, she likes Phantom? Right, the film Phantom with Ed Harris? Here. Thanks for coming.
Nicely done.
Have you had fun in Western New York?
Yes, sir.
Right? How could you not? Did you know it was my day? Anyway, so come on.
First thing he says to me on the phone is to make sure that we talk about Cheektowaga, not Buffalo. Make sure we talk about Cheektowaga, okay? Now I'm being dutiful here. Let's talk about Cheektowaga. It seems to me you are the king of Cheektowaga. You are the best known celebrity, I think, ever to come from Cheektowaga. Am I right about that?
My mother was the king of Cheektowaga. I might have been the prince, and there were 4 queens, but yeah, she was the king.
By the way, look on your programs, please, if you haven't already. On the back page of your programs, you will see a 1974 picture of Mr. Fichtner, which will delight you.
Yeah, how do you like that hair, huh? I look like Marlo Thomas. Yo, wings and... God.
What kind of kid were you?
I think my sisters would probably answer that better than I. I think I was a good kid. I got in trouble. I had 4 sisters. I got in a little bit of trouble.
Were you a jock?
Not really, but there were. I grew up in a neighborhood where all the streets were Lucy Lane, Betty Lou, Deborah, Angela, Bernice. So, but there were almost enough kids on Nagel Drive. Tony Militello was from Nagel. Lucy and Betty Lou, where we almost had enough to put together our own hockey team. And eventually, we had a team in the town league, Cheektowaga Town League, when they started. So I didn't think I was a jock, but I loved hockey. And I got into it because the older kids in the neighborhood, we lived right between North Creek and South Creek, which was the separation between Maryvale District and Cheektowaga Central. but that thin little creek in the winter would freeze. It's Buffalo. And the older kids in the neighborhood would put all of their baseball catcher gear on me and say, you're the goalie. And would just fire at will for hours. And eventually I did become a goalie. Go figure, how'd that happen, huh? But we played hockey.
All right, let's get into the breaking news here. I think most of you know that or have read somewhere or other, that you're actually thinking about making a film here. Could you tell us a little bit about the thing that you'd like to make in the city of Buffalo, and also talk a little bit about why Buffalo is a pretty interesting film location? I think it's a tremendous film location. But from your point of view, talk about it a little bit.
Well, it started with one of my all-time closest friends. I call him my little brother. His name is Kane DeVore. Great friend of mine. I've known Kane since the mid-'80s. We started writing this film, I don't know, it was like 3 presidents ago. And we would always do it over watching boxing and having a good bottle of red. And I started saving the corks, and we filled up one of those water bottles, and we were only like on page 20. And so it took years and years, but about 3 years ago, I've always been serious about it, but then really started feeling like, passing the script out, and people were responding to it and thinking, it's a really good story. And I wrote it to be in upstate New York and in central New York, but the closer I got to having it come together and try to raise the money and all of that, which is the hardest thing to do, the script kept getting better, kept getting great notes from it. I started to meet some producers that were interested in it, and they were like, "This would be great. We could shoot this in Ontario." And who am I to say on a first film that I'm going to direct? I don't want to shoot it in Ontario or let's go to Louisiana. And I'm like, no, it's written for upstate New York, not Shreveport. We want the leaves changing, not moss hanging down. And so I started to get really committed to the fact of what's the point? I mean, if I'm going to do this someday, I want it to be here. And then in the last few years, my relationship with Tim Clark from the Buffalo Niagara Film Commission and Rich Hall, we started to become closer friends, and those gentlemen had suggested to me, you should really think about, even though it was written for central New York, like near Cortland and the rolling hills there, that Buffalo has so much to offer. And in the last couple of years, we started spending time looking around at different locations in this city here. And not that, I'm from here, obviously love it here, but I was blown away by, not only how incredible it would be to shoot something here, but obviously the goodwill from the people of Buffalo. And then then my heart was just dead set on, whenever this comes together, it has to be here. I mean, and this community is on such an upswing, and but I always feel it's on an upswing. But I feel like I'm at that point in my life right now where there's nothing I want to do more than make my film. And I want to do, I can do a little bit of it in the rolling hills of central New York, but I can do the lion's share of it right here in the Buffalo community. So that's the thing that I think about every night before I go to sleep. And when I wake up in the morning, there you go.
This is the only question I'm going to ask you that I think has been asked by every interviewer who ever talks to you. After that, it's over. It's going to be painless after that, or actually maybe very painful.
Okay.
But anyway, how the hell did you get waylaid from criminology into theater? How did that happen?
I know. I have to give you the Reader's Digest version, which I will. Junior in high school, there's a college night at Depew High School, where you go and there's representatives from all the different colleges, and you go and you see different schools and that. And I remember I walked up to a booth for SUNY Farmingdale on Long Island, and the guy that was there, his name was Don Harvey. He lived down the campus in Long Island at the school, and I met him and I started talking to him, and I thought he was just one of the coolest people I ever met. I ended up spending like a half an hour with him just talking to him. He said, "You should visit the campus." Then he was at Maryville a couple of days later. I went to see him again. He said, "Come down, visit the campus." So I did that. I went down, visited the campus, Might have been the fall of my senior year, so maybe fall of '73. Went to see the campus, and I love the campus and everything, but I think because he was there, you know, I was like, I really want to go to Farmingdale. So I applied, got into Farmingdale, criminal justice major. I think I showed up, my hair was like this long. I think most of the criminal justice professors were like, what is that kid doing here? I was thinking that a little too. So Don, after I was there maybe a month, I'd see him every day, pass by his office. He said to me one day, and I remember, I was walking by his office, I waved to him up in the window, and he said to me, do you have any shirts with collars on them? And I was like, I probably got one. He said, good, Friday night, where? We're leaving campus at about 5 o'clock. And I said, sure, Harv, let's go. Took me into New York and took me to see a Broadway show. I'd never seen a Broadway show. I know that there were plays in high school, but I did everything I could to skip that day. Skipped a lot of days, but it's a whole other thing. So I went to see this Broadway show, and I have to tell you, I mean, the first time anybody goes to see a Broadway show, it's like, you can't believe that something is that amazing.
What was the show?
It was a musical called I Love My Wife at the Music Box Theater. And I was like, wow. So in the next 2 years that I was at Farmingdale, you know, Don was a friend, and I saw the most amazing theater that was going on, still never thinking of, I'm gonna, you know, change the course of my life or anything. But at that time, Farmingdale was a 4-year college, and at the time it was a 2-year school, so I had to transfer. I transferred to Brockport, SUNY Brockport. I was at school about less than a month, and I got a call from the admissions counselor that said, listen, you're missing a fine arts course to graduate. You need one. And I'm like, well, what's a fine arts course? And they were like, you could take Intro to Theater, 450 kids in a lecture room. That's a recipe to go to sleep. Because sometimes you actually pick those classes real early so you can go to sleep. As you could tell, I was academically really on it. My favorite class in college was National Parks. It was a slideshow. And then I thought one time, there was one class at Brockport called History of American Sports. I'm like, are you kidding me? The hardest class in 4 years of college. It was essays every week. I'll never forget. Why did you take this class, Bill? So I said, I don't want to take Intro to Theater. Is there anything? Now, I'd seen amazing theater the last 2 years, but I still had never auditioned, never did anything, wasn't even thinking about it. And then they said, well, the only class you can take that is not, you know, for theater majors is an improv class. And I thought, well, that sounds exciting. So I took that class. And I was in that class about a month or two. The professor's name was Sally Rubin, and she asked me to stay after class one day, and she took me on the side and she said, are you having as good of time as I think you're having in this class? And I said, this is amazing. I love this. And she said, I don't say this often, but I think you should do this. I mean, and I'm like, wow, that's very sweet of you to say. But I said, but I don't think I can. I think everything else is for theater majors. And she went to the department chair of the theater department and said, you should waive the prerequisite things and have this kid take acting classes if he wants to. So I had to meet the department chair at Brockport, and he talked to me for a minute, and he said, okay, you can take theater classes if you want to. And I took all of the acting classes there, not changing my mind. And then I graduated and had my criminal justice degree, and was working at Mulligan's, the beach club, out in the summertime. But before that summer ended, my college girlfriend gave me a paperback book that I still have called How to Be a Working Actor, just this kind of a thing. And I was out at Mulligan's that summer, and I read that book like 18 times. I just read it every day, and then I thought, I think I can do this. So I got a regional audition in Syracuse for the American Academy of Dramatic Arts, and was nervous and went and auditioned for it, and then I got accepted. And
so it's your college girlfriend who changed your life. Does she know that?
She does know that. I haven't seen her in 20.
She gave us you.
5 years, but I still see and talk to her brother all the time.
Okay.
I'm still really close with him.
One of the things I most love about the actors from Buffalo is how many terrific, hardworking character actors there are, and there have been, from the era of James Whitmore right up to now, with you and Bill Sadler and Jeff DeMunn. Do you know Sadler and DeMunn? Do you know?
I know Jeff DeMunn.
Okay.
Yeah, we worked together on an HBO thing. Great actor.
Yeah, what was it?
Empire Falls.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
I met. I'm a huge motorsport fan, and the first day I showed up to work in Maine, well, we rehearsed in New York a little bit, but I was on set, and you know, Paul Newman is in it, and it's Paul Newman. And the first day I got to work, he was shooting a scene early in the morning where he was up on a ladder, and Ed Harris pulls up, and he's on a ladder, and he has a scene with his son in the driveway, and I'm standing way in the background, and I'm watching him, and he's on a ladder, and you've never seen anybody on a ladder be that cool. He's Paul Newman. I mean, I just couldn't get over it. I'm like, am I going to be that cool when I'm 78? I doubt it. He's just so cool. Loved working with him.
And what you worked with Newman on?
Empire Falls, the same thing I met Jeff
DeMunn
on, yes.
Okay. A good friend of mine is a character actor, but he hates the term. He doesn't, to him, and he's absolutely right. To him, you're a working actor. You know, it's a term that like producers would use or critics would use, you know, character actor. It's a classification term that actors don't use. I must confess parenthetically that my favorite movie actors tend to be character actors, not whatever, you know, what we would call leading men. In other words, character actors whose vividness has made them stars. People like, for instance, Bogart and Richard Widmark and Lee Marvin or Ernest Borgnine. You're kind of like that. You seem to me kind of like that. I mean, you're kind of like somebody who came up from, you know, being a character. What was the first starring? What was the first time that somebody said to you, you know, that you were going to carry a movie, that you were going to be in a movie and that you were expected to do more than be, you know, make a really maximum impression in a rather small space?
I don't think that's happened yet.
Well,
but I sure like the way it sounds. That's why I wrote my own movie, so I could say, I'm going to carry this movie. No, I mean that. I don't think, I've done some indie films where, you know, not all indie films work, even though you try hard, but I honestly don't think, you know, to segue into a same sort of thought that you're talking about, you know, I've had people ask me, what's that one film that like popped you, that one that, and I don't think that's true for me either. I think it's a collection of things, and I don't take offense to the character thing. I'm much more interested in playing a part and finding out, like, you know, who someone is. I went with New Agents a couple of years ago, and they started sending me like the worst stuff imaginable. And finally I had to call them up, and I said, I got everybody on the phone, and I said, listen, I want you to find the role of the guy that wears a dress. And they're like, do you really? And I said, well, I mean that, yes, I do. I want to go there. But the point I'm making is, would you stop looking at the same sort of thing? That's not what I think I do well. You know, I like to go different places. I don't like to play me. I like me. I just don't want to like play me. So I don't take offense to that. I think it's cool to go different places.
You started out in As the World Turns, and I've been looking at your filmography and your TV list for a couple days, and there are all kinds of films and TV shows on there that look like they were bumpy rides. I mean, you've been in with things with some people who I know a little bit about and were, you know, kind of rough. Let me ask you.
You got to get a little more specific than that.
I'm about to.
And I was on As the World Turns, playing Josh Snyder. I changed my name, Rod Landry, the misunderstood farmhand. Yeah, I had problems. I did.
What were your problems?
I don't want to talk about it, Jeff. I'm still dealing with it. I'm in therapy.
I was one of the many people who thought that Brett Butler was a wonderful stand-up comedian. But she was terrific as a stand-up comic. But it was fairly widely known that her sitcom, Grace Under Fire, was trouble. Not least by substance abuse problems, all of which were borne out by a subsequent life she has candidly talked about in various different places, including brief homelessness. Now, you played a boyfriend of hers on the show, as I recall. What does a working actor do under those kind of circumstances? Do you try to be helpful, or do you just keep your head down, show up on the set, get through the gig, and do the next thing that's on the list?
Well, you know, the bigger question to answer here is I don't live with a lot of drama. I could probably count, I've been married to my lovely wife for 18 years. Maybe we've gone to sleep like 4 times, like not talking. I just, drama doesn't work in my life, especially on a set. So I can't get wrapped up in that. I don't find that it's a very creative place. Grace Under Fire in particular, Brett was unbelievably lovely to me. It was the first season. It was the last 8 shows of the original season, and it was Chuck Lorre's show. Chuck Lorre went on to create Dharma and Greg, 2.5 Men, Big Bang Theory, Mom, which I just worked on. I'll tell you that in a little while. But so she, you know, I had heard when I got there, you know, that she was very difficult, but she was great with me. What was hard about it, what I remember, was that she would be so sweet to me, but then turn around to somebody like, you know, putting out the craft service and would like snap at them and be really mean. And that's hard to be around because you don't want to, it's not like, oh, Brett, it's all great, it's all fine, it's everything, and you're like mean to everybody, even if you're not mean to me. It's not a great place to be in. But she had her own demons, and you know, even the show went 5 years. But I will tell you one thing. I remember that it was like the second last show of the season, and I was loving it. I'd never done like a multi-camera sitcom before. I'm much more of a kitchen sink drama guy, and here I am. And it's like doing a play in front of a camera because there's multi-cameras, but then there's a real audience. So if you say something on the stage while you're doing it, and it's funny, they laugh. So you're getting filmed and they laugh at the same time. It's a very cool thing. But I remember right before the second last show of the year, I'm having a great time, and she had a young boy on there who played her son. And one day in rehearsal, he goes out to her and goes, I played a guy named Ryan Sparks. And she went up to him, she goes, are you gonna marry Ryan? And she turned to him, he was like 11 years old. And she snapped at him and went, it's Grace Under Fire, not Grace and Ryan. And I knew right then and there, I will finish those 2 episodes and that will be the end of me. And that was the end of me. So much for I was dreaming about this new car I was gonna buy. My new car was 14 years old. Yeah.
Tell us about Mom. You said you were just on
so
Mom.
Fast forward 23 years, and I get this call in early December, and it's Chuck Lorre. He calls my agent, said, I'd like to talk to Bill, and I'm like, wow, Chuck, he's, you know, he's an icon in the world of half-hour, you know, television and comedy. He's just, there's nobody like him. And I said, I'd love to talk to Chuck. Ran into him once, maybe 15 years ago. He gets on the phone, he said, hey, Bill, it's Chuck. I said, hey, Chuck, how are you? He goes, listen, here's the deal. I'm doing this show Mom now with Allison Janney and Anna Faris, and I don't watch it, and we'll talk about this later, but I don't, a lot of stuff that I do, I don't even watch. I like doing it, but sometimes I watch myself and I'm like, what are you? So he said, I'm doing the show Mom, it's really cool, and I said, I know, I've heard about it, and Allison is, you know, the most Emmy-winning actor or actress ever. it's about 5 women that were ex-alcoholics, and it's really funny and real. And he goes, I wrote a part. I don't want to give it away because I really want you to watch it. The 4 episodes air in April, beginning in early April. But if you don't do it, because I had you in mind, if you don't do it, I'm just going to have it be a one-off. We're going to play the part, and it'll just be kind of a heartbreak situation for Allison Janney's character. But if you do it, you have to promise me like at least 4 episodes. Because I got this really cool idea of what's going to happen. And I said, like always, you have to send me the script. You know, if it ain't on the page, it ain't on the stage. So he said, sure. So he sent me the script. I read it like within an hour, and called my agent back, and I said, absolutely. I love it. He was kind of surprised. I'm like, no, listen. I have a new agency, so I'm still training them, and, you know, sit down. Here you go. Takes a while.
Oh, they're going to love that.
Yeah, no, they are going to love that. It's okay. They'll probably fire me. It's all right. I don't really care. So I said, I'm in. So I did. I shot all 4 of them.
Right.
We did the 1, and then there was a couple of show break, and then I did 3 more in a row. And I'm not going to give it away because I don't really know where it's going to go, but this is a little bit of inside scoop. So I get a call like a week and a half ago, and I have to tell you too, just a little side thing. You know, I found myself at this place in my life where I no longer have a lot of pictures of, I want it to go this way, and I want it to go this way. I want to do the things that come along that I'm like, really engaged, and that's what I care about. And this show, Mom, working on it, I think of myself as such a dramatic actor, and here I am on Mom, and I love it. So I get a call like a week and a half ago that Chuck his company called my agents and said, listen, we don't want this to end. And there's only a couple of more shows in the season. He's not in them. But we also don't want him to take another show because we gotta have more fun with this. And they called me up and they told me this, and I said, I'm all ears. So I don't think it's the last of me being on Mom.
Good.
So please watch Mom in April.
In April. Peter Ustinov used to tell a wonderful story about playing a slave in Spartacus, owned by Laurence Olivier as a noble. In Ustinov's story, Olivier would take in completely inconsequential transitional dialogue, only important for the for the exposition of the movie, and turn that into meaningfully long pauses and absurd dramatic emphases. Now, Ustinov said he realized that when he was watching this, the 2 could play this game. So he decided to throw in nice, long pauses during the scene and drive Lord Larry nuts. The only one who was being driven nuts is Stanley Kubrick, who was trying to direct this movie. Okay. You've had to deal with an awful lot of actors in your time. You've had, I'm sure, your share of prima donnas in your career. What do? What happens? I told you these weren't all going to be easy.
You know, honestly, I really haven't dealt with a lot of prima donnas. A couple. They're gonna go nameless, but a couple. But I have to tell you, I think for the most part, the prima donnas that sort of behavior in that, you know, I've worked with some really big movie stars. One I would put in the prima donna category, and that was a rarity. But the rest of them, they're not the prima donnas. They're really good actors, and they just want it to work and get it right. I think you find people that think they're really big movie stars will tend to be a little more in the prima donna range. But it means very little to me. And I think that when I'm on set, and I've had circumstances where anybody has that sort of feeling, I give it no weight and no attention. It's all about getting it right. And,
How does it manifest itself? In other words, the one case you're talking
well,
about.
I'll tell you, I was shooting a film in Paris, and it was like 3 days before Christmas, and I was really missing my older boy, Sam, who was a little boy at the time, and I just wanted to get home, and I was supposed to leave days before that. But this actress did not want to leave and did not want to leave and wanted to pick it up in the new year. Well, the producers were like, you can't put a crew on hold for 2 weeks over the holidays. That's like a third of our budget. We have to finish this now. And she was dragging her feet. And I literally one day left my trailer and went on set and waited to shoot the scene, even though they didn't come and get me, and just stayed on set and let it be known that we can share with anybody or the other actors that I'm on set and I'm ready to go. And I don't want to delay this. And I had a flight the next day. It was the day before Christmas Eve. And finally the actress showed up, and I got it. She was going through a rough time in her life, but it was kind of silly. I remember the day before, we were ready to shoot a scene, and they called me to set, and I went to set, and I'm like, where is she? And they went, she went to buy jelly beans. I'm not kidding, So, okay. So we finished the scene that day, and then there was all this talk about the potentially adding a scene. I had a 7 a.m. flight the next day out of Charles de Gaulle Airport, and true story, I was at the airport, and Screen Actors Guild said I had to fly a first class, and there was a greeter there, and I asked the greeter, can you take me to the plane early? Can you get me on the plane? I was the only one on the plane. They were still bringing the food on the plane. I was on the plane, and I'm looking out the window of the plane, and I'm just looking at the terminal thinking, don't anybody come and get me. Because I thought they were going to come and get me. I'm like, when they shut the door of the plane, she's like, can I get you anything? Red wine. Right now, right, just leave the bottle. And but it's been a rarity. It has. You know, most people,
Right.
they want to get it. They're really good because, you know, they're really big stars because they're really good.
You mentioned a couple kids, 2 boys, right?
Yes.
How old?
23, 13.
They're both kind of grown. Even the 13-year-old is not a child, a little one anymore. There's comes a point in every kid's life where they want to know just what daddy does for a living. When that moment came for your kids, what do you show them? You've got a big life's work now. In your life's work, when the kids want to know what does daddy do, what do you show them?
Well, this is what I'll tell you about that. I have one little story about that, but in general, I have downplayed what I do to my kids my whole life. I don't talk about it. I don't go like, hey, I got a movie coming out. We're all going to the movie. I don't. I never had. I don't think that my kids growing up ever thought it was a really big deal. I think they heard about it more from their friends if they saw a movie or something. Was your dad in Prison Break, or was your dad in Armageddon or something? Because I really never wanted to make a big deal out of it. I was always just, it was more important that I'm dad, not an actor. And I think it's been like that for both of them forever. So, I mean, I'll give you an example. My younger boy, Vangel, he's 13 now, 6 feet tall. He's looking at me eye level. It's like freaking me out. So about 3 years ago, I'm working on The Lone Ranger. Van had never been to a set. Sam had been to a set once when he was maybe 12. I was working on the remake of The Longest Yard. And even then, I felt like, I just don't want him to think that this is it or it's whatever. Just didn't want to make a big deal out of it. So I took Sam to the set, and just to show him the set a little bit, Adam Sandler pulled up in a golf cart. I got to tell you something. Adam Sandler has a lot of sycophants around, and wasn't my highlight experience until I took Sam to the set. Adam Sandler pulls up in a golf cart. He goes, "That's your son?" I said, "Sam, Adam." He goes, "Sam, hop on." And took off with the golf cart. Came back like 45 minutes later, took Sam everywhere, like I didn't love Adam Sandler after that. You know? He drops off Sam, he goes, and I remember him looking back at Sam and going, "I know it's a little early, but we're best friends, right? All right, you got it." So he takes off. I'm like, love you, Adam. Only time I think that Sam was on a set.
That's the best Adam Sandler story I have ever heard.
Awesome. Just ran into him a couple of months ago. Anyway, so I take Van. We shoot The Lone Ranger over 7.5 months. Every iconic location, Western location, Moab, Monument Valley, Santa Fe, we're New Mexico, just amazing things. I'm riding a horse, it's great. And the costumes out there, right? Yeah, cool. I never saved a costume from anything before, which is why I don't have a lot of them to display. But they asked me when I finished the film, "Is there anything that you want?" And I said, "I want the whole thing." And I even have the wig. I didn't send that, but the teeth, I got that. I figured Halloween someday. But so we had to do reshoots in LA. And I said to Van, after school, "How about you and your buddy Georgie," and Georgie's dad, John, who's a great bro of mine, "bring him over. It's like 10 minutes from where the boys are going to school. I'm going to bring him to the set, and I'm going to get up." And so he's like, I'd never taken him to a set before. He's going to come to the set. So I got there. It took 3.5 hours to do the hair and makeup on Lone Ranger. Believe me, I'd be there at 4 o'clock in the morning, me and a makeup artist, till 7:30. Everybody else shows up at 7 o'clock. It took that long to do all the layers and the skin and everything. And so I get everything done. I fully dress. I'm ready. I got my trailer. I said to the production assistants, "Bring snacks. I want everything. The boys are going to come over. It's going to be great." So I'm all ready. I get the prop guys. Give me the guns. I want everything. I want to walk out of the trailer. They come and they knock on the door, and I open up the door, and I'm standing there with the whole thing on like this, and I'm like, "What's going on, boys?" And my son Van looks at me and he's like, "Is Johnny Depp here?" You know, that's like Janet on 98.5. You're going to wear black, you know? Where's the love? That's what I'm talking about. I said, "Well, what do you think of the whole thing? Is Johnny, is the Lone Ranger here? Is Army Hammer here?" He's not going to any more sets, I'll tell you that right now.
Has there ever been a moment where one of your kids has seen you in the movie and said, "Hey, you know, Dad, that's not bad. That's okay"? Has that ever happened? It's got to have happened.
Yeah, no. I don't know. I don't know. Well, I would have critical conversations about it because my older boy, Sam, was an English major, and I've seen him direct in college mainstay productions of incredible plays and Chekhov plays and Sam Shepard, and he writes. He's in LA now. He's making short films. He worked on an indie film with me and assisted the director, and he's doing his thing. You know, he's starting at the bottom, and he's a bright guy. And sometimes Sam would say things to me that, you know, from his, you know, really intelligent, critical mind about things that were interesting. But I don't know if that ever, you know, and not that I, you know, need it.
Well, maybe it's better.
Sometimes I say to my wife, I'm like, "Kimmy, what'd you think of me in that?" And she was like, "That was good. Get milk, don't forget." That freaking Hollywood star. Yeah, milk and bread.
I read somewhere on the internet that your two favorite films, or two of your, this might have been just something you just told somebody just because they wouldn't get off your back, that your two favorite films were Go and The Perfect Storm.
That I'd worked on?
That you'd worked on, yeah.
It's a tough question to answer because the answer would probably change, and you know, sometimes I think of Black Hawk Down for the experience, and I met two of my closest friends in my life on that film, and you meet a lot of great people you work with, but to meet people that, you know, you leave the set and you know that you're going to talk to, you know, I met my probably my best friend Kim Coates
in LA, best friend not from hometown, and I've talked to Kim almost every day since the day we wrapped on Black Hawk Down in 2001. But that was special. But yes, Go was a highlight. Contact was a highlight because that was the first
good movies,
real character part that I. Perfect Storm was memorable. I've had the good fortune to work on a few films that were based on true stories. And that's always really special. I mean, I remember training for Black Hawk Down and going to Fayetteville, North Carolina, to Fort Bragg. And I'll tell you something, those Special Forces guys that were set up to train us, they were not happy about having a bunch of actors show up until after a week they really got that these guys, we really want to get it right. And they opened up to us. So those are really, monumental, special things. But there have been a lot of things. And not that I've worked on a lot of things that I... Don't leave. Am I boring you?
No. At a certain point, they're going to give me a high sign that they want to throw it over to the audience. And we don't want to miss that. So maybe...
Yeah, no, listen, I know some people in the audience that have questions, so let's try to avoid them. Because I know what some of where these questions are going.
Well, that's what I want to hear.
Listen, we're the ones with the mics on. If we keep talking, we can. But I'd do anything for Cindy. So when it's time to break it open. But anyway, so there are many things, and I feel great about that.
All right, let me just make one last question. All right, one last question. Let me turn that question upside down. Is there any film that you dearly wish would go away? That you dearly would wish that no one, for instance, like the picture on the back of the program. No, that's not that bad. But are there...
like I'm right here when he said that.
Are there any films that you've made that you really wish, gee, it would be nice if nobody could ever see that film again?
No. I'm pickier sometimes than I have a right to be. I've had times in my life where I needed a job. I'm not an actor that works every single day of the year, though I'd like to be. I like to be engaged. But there are times, I remember there are times where I've been offered things where I really needed a job and hadn't worked in a long time, and then it would be for, pretty good money and not working and reading it and getting 20 pages into it and saying, my wife going, and I'm like, no, it's terrible. And not doing it. So I can honestly say that I have no regrets of anything. I did do one film called Virtuosity, where it was a pretty big part, and it was the second film that I ever did.
Tony Scott, right?
No, that one was a guy named Brett Leonard directed it, and Denzel Washington was in it, and Russell Crowe was, like I said, it was my second film, and I remember shooting the film, and then I went with my buddy Max in New York, and we went to see it. There was a special screening, and Max was next to me, and I'm like, check this out. This is a great scene coming up. And it came up, and the scene wasn't in there, and I'm like, yeah, it must have. Maybe they put it later. And I said, hey, Jake, look, you got to watch this one. This is really cool. All right, it's not there either. They cut like 80% of what, and what they left in, they put it out of context, and it was. That's the only thing I look back on and think I could have skipped that, but that's I don't. That's really about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now the real embarrassment starts. I think, Cindy, we're going to have the
I
people
know
from
you
the
have
audience.
more questions, but we want to make sure that we get some of the folks here. Have a question here? Go ahead. I hold on to the microphone. That's the rule.
Who were your favorite teachers at Maryville? And
we knew that was coming.
And I think you still owe me a homework assignment.
Was he a good student?
Yes, he was a very likable student.
No, but was he a good student?
He was an average student.
Sorry, Bill. You want to comment on that?
I want to thank you very much for coming here. There's another question. I have to tell you, how are you? Excellent. You never know who it is. Who's that teacher? I had a lot of great teachers. I had a lot of teachers that didn't care for me. But I had a 7th grade math teacher that, and believe me, I was not a whiz math student. His name was Mr. Rice, Jerry Rice, and he had the greatest influence on me than anybody. We're talking back in the late 60s now, and I remember in the summertime that it was in halfway through the summer, and I was home one day, and the phone rang, and my mother answered the phone. Happened to be in the kitchen. She was like, I don't know, I'll ask. And she looked at me and she said, do you want to go hiking in the Adirondacks with Mr. Rice? Now, that would never happen, now. But Mr. Rice, was really, always looking out for me, going through rough things when I was a kid, and always talked to me. And that summer he said, would you like to do that? And I said, sure. So like a week later, Mr. Rice picked me up, and I remember we're driving on the New York State Thruway, and I said, do I get to call you Jerry? And he was like, no. And we got to the Adirondacks, and for like 5 days went over the high peaks of the Adirondacks, and he did change my life. I've been back to the Adirondacks hiking those trails 24 times in my life, and I haven't seen Mr. Rice in a long, long time, but I remember him.
Another question? Oh, stay over here.
Hi, Billy. I used to work with you at Mulligan's Sunset Bay a number of years ago.
Oh.
I won't mention any of those stories, but I will tell you one story.
No, you won't.
I won't. One story I will mention is closing, you working the door, and I said, Billy, what are you doing after the summer? And you go, I'm going to LA to become an actor. And to this day, I tell everybody, hey, Billy, can actor. I saw you on a Stroh's commercial a few years later. I said, there's the guy. He did what he said.
Right, see?
Thank you.
Okay, let me try to sneak in here.
Hi. What advice would you give to young aspiring filmmakers or those looking to get involved in the entertainment industry?
And then I actually have a question after that.
I will make sure you get it in. All right.
What advice would I give? Honestly, if there was if there was a book to write, I would have written it and been a billionaire. Because it is, it is a road that is, everybody has a different journey. There's no one way. I could tell you this much, you learn in the doing. You want to be a filmmaker, make films, make it with your iPhone. You want to be an actor, you act. You go to the places you need to go to. That's how you do it. You don't stop. I remember when I moved to New York, and I was there about a year, and I did maybe 2 or 3 years I was there, and I did a couple of commercials, like the Stroh's beer commercial, and I had a little bit of money, and then I ran out of it, and I remember one day I was like, I can't do this anymore. This is breaking my heart. I have nothing. I have no agent, no job, there's nothing, no reason in the world I should be here right now. There's nobody that's saying like, yeah, go get it like that. Nothing. And then I thought, that's it. I'm out. I went back to my apartment. I sat there for like 6 hours, and I thought, there's nothing else. What else are you going to do? And just kind of threw that out the window and started again. Hitting the street the next day. And so I do think that if you want it, that's how it happens. And you never quit growing, so don't ever stop working at it. Don't ever feel like you make it. I still read the same acting book that I started reading in the mid-'80s. Every 2 years, I just finished it about a month ago. I read the same things. You'll be a student forever, so don't think that there's one point where it changes and you're not. I hope that answers your question.
Was there some actor that you worked with that taught you, was there ever like this epiphany where you said, gee, I should change and do this or that?
Not anyone in particular, but you learn from everybody. You truly do. I think it's odd because I've been on sets now with some younger actors that are just like, you know, it's different. You got to remember, back in the 70s when I decided after college to be an actor, I remember when I decided in the summertime, the summer of 1978, I'm reading this book, working at the Beach Club, I'm going to be an actor. I remember telling my mother, I'm going to go to New York, I'm going to be an actor. And my mother said, well, let's get the sheets and the towels. And she was just, and I remember telling my dad, I'm going to be an actor. I might as well said to him, I built a small spacecraft in the backyard, and next Tuesday, I'm going to Pluto. Because I think for the next 2 years, he looked at me like, so I don't think there's one, but I think it's a culmination. You know, I don't think people have one method. I don't know. There are people that go to the actor's studio that say, this is the only way to do it. There are things about the actor's studio that I find interesting, but then I'll learn something from watching someone else and, oh, I like that. And I think everybody creates their own style.
Okay, you had a question.
Yeah, you got to give him the question. I mean, he hopped right in there.
Tim Clark's probably going to hit me in the head for asking this question later, but just so it's official, I can't believe I'm asking you this, but would you think I'd be able to actually be like a production assistant or an extra on your film in Buffalo? I'm an aspiring film director, and I've been looking to get involved with the project for a really long time, and I think that this question goes for every kid out there like me that has a dream of working on a film or being involved, that, you know, not a lot of people actually talk about film, and, you know, just the love of film that I have, I've never been involved with something, and I would love to help you out with this film that you're doing in Buffalo, and I was just wondering, I can't believe I'm asking this question.
That's all right. Take a chance.
What's your name?
Dan Barone.
What's your last name?
Dan Barone.
Barone? Yeah, Dan Barone is executive producer on my film.
They're taping this too, you know.
Listen, and you will be writing me a check later. So, not Starbucks money, okay, buddy?
Bill, how do you start? I mean, he wants to be, you know, is that the path, to be a production assistant, and then, you know?
Listen, you know, honestly, and I mean this too. I think that two parts to that question.
It's so hard to get.
It's hard everywhere. Everywhere you go, it's not like it's something where everybody, whether you're working in the production side of it, an actor, directing, whatever, you're not going to go anywhere in this business where they're like, hey, welcome. There's, you know, what do they say? 98.6% of Screen Actors Guild actors are out of work. It's not like anybody's got their arms open to be a new member of Screen Actors Guild or to work in any facet of production. But I tell most people, if you want to be in production, be where production happens. Be that as it may, things are changing here in Western New York. Tim Clark will tell you there are more films being shot here now than ever, and that's not changing. It is changing. It's going for the plus side. And I you know, knock on wood, if the right things come together with me, you know, that'll be happening here. And when that happens here, I'd love for you to, you know, work on the film with me.
Bill, when we realized we were coming here, I wanted to know more about you, so I Googled you. And it said that you were born in East Meadow, New York. So what brought you to this area?
All right, long story short, father was born on Long Island, mother's from Buffalo. Father was in the Air Force, went to Niagara Falls. Met my mother, they got married, was transferred down to East Meadow, Long Island, what used to be Mitchell Field Air Force Base. I was born on that base. My sister Margaret was born on that base in a little medical Quonset hut. For whatever reasons, probably my mother going, I'm going home, came back to Buffalo. And so I think, Margie, I think I was like maybe 2 or 3 months. Yeah, 2 or 3 months when we came back to Buffalo. So thank you for bringing it up, but if people ask me where I'm from Buffalo. I think, Listen, I've been on vacation more in my life than 2.5 months. We can skip that part. I'm from Buffalo. That's it. I don't want to talk about it.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello, Bill.
Yes.
It's Tom O'Connor.
Hi, Tom.
When John Simon asked you earlier whether you were the king of Cheektowaga, you replied that it was your mother who was queen of Cheektowaga.
Yes.
Pat Fickner was our babysitter years ago. And I'm sure she's awfully proud of the fact that you have a day named after you.
That nice. I see a hand here.
I am gonna. I have to. I gotta give one. Since you brought up my mom, I have to tell you. So you're gonna love this story. So my wife says to me, I do the film The Perfect Storm. There's a huge premiere for The Perfect Storm. It's in LA, and Kimmy's like, your mom's got to get out. We have to take your mom. I'm like, we got it. Mom, I'll call her up. Mom, we're taking you to the premiere of The Perfect Storm. I said, this is fantastic. So we fly my mom out, and of course, because it's a big studio picture, you know, I have first class tickets. I'm like, no, not for me. My mom, beautiful hotel and that. We were living in a tiny little apartment. So every soup to nuts, everything we could do. And my mom, she came out like 3 days earlier. My wife took her shopping, got her a beautiful thing. Big Hollywood premieres, they're fun. There's a lot of movie stars. It's a big thing. Big red carpet, right? The limo shows up. It's longer than this room. And so she's all excited. We're pulling up to the premiere, and my mother, she starts crying. And I'm like, there's no crying at premieres. And she's all like, oh my God. And so it's great. We get up, we walk out. She looks gorgeous. And we walk into the premiere. We go down the red carpet. I'm with my beautiful wife, my mom. We go inside. There's so many movie stars there. It's unbelievable. Huge party in the Arm & Hammer Museum right across the street in Westwood. We go to the party. We're in the party. I'm just checking on. Is my mom? Is she having a great time? She's just loving this. So we're in the party about 15, 20 minutes. I look over at my wife, Kimmy, and I say, have you seen my mom? I haven't seen my mom. And she goes, I haven't seen her. And I have a big table and all our friends. I turn around. She's like as far as that wall, holding hands with Cher. She's holding hands with Cher. And Cher is just like, oh, yes. And my mother's like, I have a thing with my wife, you know. It's like, I've had this crush on Cher forever. My wife is like, go right ahead. So, go right ahead. I'm like, whatever. She's holding hands with Cher. I look and I'm like, it's Cher. And my mother looks over and she goes, oh, honey, it's Cher. And I'm like, I know who it is, Mom. So she says to me, get the camera. I don't know if Cher's okay with taking pictures. And she's like, get the camera. And I'm just standing there looking at Cher. And Cher looks at me, she goes, get the camera. I'm like, I get the camera. Take it easy, Cher. So I get the camera, I take a picture. I say this to this day. She takes a photo, Cher says, and I use this line, she goes, take two, one's always better. Whatever you say, Cher. I take another one like this. My mother says, all right, God bless you, Cher, with your kids and everything. Cher's like, kisses my mother, great. Oh, man. So she comes back throughout the night, right? These parties can go on a long time. It's like 2:30 in the morning, and I'm like, Mom, it's time. And she's like, really, already? And I'm like, yeah, I'm ready. It's time to go. So this is pre-digital, so she has a camera with her, and I said, I had a great place that does sloppy borders and film in her camera. I said, Mom, leave the camera. A couple of days later, she left. I said, I'm going to take it to this place, get some great prints. I'll send them back to you. I get her camera, I take the film in, everything gets developed. I pick up the pictures like a week later. I'm flipping through there, I'm like, there's Cher. There's my mother with her arms around George Clooney. I'm like, her and Mark Wahlberg. Like it just went on and on. I'm like, I could see my mother walking around going, George, I'm Bill's mom. They just, anyway, I had to tell about my mom.
You won't identify the prima donna, and I'm not going to ask you this to create a process of elimination. But
Yes, you are.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are. I can see where this is.
Who are some of the actors and stars with whom you've most enjoyed working?
Long list on that. I loved working with Johnny Depp on The Lone Ranger. Just peaceful, soulful, grounded, lovely to everybody around him. Listen, I'm a working guy, but big movie stars like a Johnny Depp and that, they're not, listen, they can't go to the Eastern Hills Mall and go walk around. It's not part of their life. They also have a G5 aircraft to take them, and I got here JetBlue. It's a little different. But I've worked with some amazing people, and I mean it. I'm blanking right now because there are so many that I've worked with. Bill Pullman last summer I thought was amazing. George Clooney is just one of the sweetest people on the planet. If you don't mind another story, can I tell you a George Clooney story? All right, so we're doing The Perfect Storm, and I bought in a few years before that. I bought this absolute classic 1970 Roadrunner, 36,000 original miles. I had a Roadrunner when I was a kid. My parents made me sell it because my mother told me that she got like too many phone calls of people like I was burning rubber all over Cheektowaga. She's like, no, you're my only son, and you're not. No, gone. And then my father tried to give me his Plymouth Valiant. My father said to me, this is a true story. He said, listen, I was about to go to college. He said, I got the car for you. This is America's answer to the Rolls Royce. And I will never forget that line. I said, what is it? He goes, it's a Plymouth Valiant. I'm like, well, and he had a '66 Mustang. I said, well, if you love the car so much, you should take it, Dad, and I'll take the Mustang. I went to college 3 months later with the Mustang. So anyway, that all worked out. So I was getting a sound system put in my vitamin C orange Roadrunner, and I'm feeling good. So we're working on The Perfect Storm for like 4 months now, and I said to George one day, I said, listen, I'm not putting that in the parking lot, and since you have a trailer that's 3 city blocks long, and you got like 5 parking spots in front of it, you got to save one of those for me, because I'm bringing it to work today, and I'm pulling right up. He said, absolutely, Bill, bring that car up. So I pull that car up like that, and I got my little like hot rod going on. I'm feeling good. We still have to work. I got it at lunchtime and brought it over. We went back in the sound stage. We're shooting all afternoon. I'm coming out. It's a Friday. We're all hanging out. I get my little moment in the sun. I get in my hot car, and everybody's like, hey, Billy, cool car. I come walking out of the sound station and walking up to my car, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, oh, there it is. There's fluid under the car. It's transmission fluid. I'm like, all right, this is my moment in the sun. I'm going to leave on a flatbed, right? AAA towing. I'm going to look really cool, with all my tattoos. And I go up, and I'm like, oh, I can't believe this is happening to me. And everybody's like, whoa, man, wow. And just for a second, I had George was playing a lot of jokes on everybody, and I glanced up, and he had a trailer, a door in the back of his trailer, and I could see him peeking out like this. And I'm like, I walked up, and I knocked on it, and he opens it up, and he goes, I said, no, you didn't. He goes, I said, you really make me sit out there for 10 minutes and grovel on the ground? And he goes, I'm telling you, it was worth every second of it. He just had his assistant go out and get transmission fluid and just pour it underneath the car. So I could be on my hands and knees like, I can't believe this is happening to me. Anyway, we have another question.
Whoa. Specifically, I was wondering if you could tell me what it is that makes Buffalo in Western New York, a great film location. But specifically.
A great film location?
Yeah, or an attractive film location.
Well, we have, listen, all right, don't get me started, would you?
Question then.
I'm getting there. I love, listen, we're Buffalo. We have Great Lakes. We have the Niagara River. We have this. We're a drive from the Finger Lakes. We have a downtown area. We have architecture here that is probably second to none We have a film-friendly community. We have a staff here with the Buffalo Niagara Film Commission that will open their arms more than any other people I've ever dealt with in this business. There is so much in this. We have a mayor that cares about it, and that this is part of what happens in this community. But you know what? It's more than that. We're people here, and this is what people have asked me, is there something about Buffalo that's you think is ever part of you in your acting world? And I answer the same way all the time. We're not a people here that brag. It's tough to live in Buffalo. We're tough people, and we don't put the cart before the horse. We do what we say. We're not big braggers. We get it done, and that's the way people work here, and that's what you have to be to make film production work. The people that work on film productions and that's going to develop more and more in Western New York, and the crew base is going to grow more and more in Western New York, and it is right now. It's on an upswing. It's amazing, and I just think that there are things that you can get from this city. There's access within a 45-minute drive of. You can't believe the looks that you can get within 45 minutes of downtown Buffalo. You could go as rural as you want, be as metropolitan as you want, with the lakes and everything else. I am the new film commissioner. I start next Tuesday. And then I'm not going to run for mayor until the Honorable Byron leaves office, and then I am running for mayor. No, but seriously, I do think that we have so much.
Hello, Bill, and hello, Jeff. It's Bob Hall. We went to high school together, as you recall. Maryvale High School. I graduated in '73. You graduated a year later. We grew up a block away from each other. I think that was Squajackwada Creek that we lived by. I think we played hockey against one another and basketball.
You shot that puck at me.
It was me. It was me. So a couple things. Number one, when did you get to be an extrovert? I mean,
get to be what?
An extrovert.
I recall you as being a fairly quiet kid in school. I mean, suddenly I think
a lot of people would argue with that on that one.
Yeah.
I still don't think I'm an extrovert. I mean, I really don't. Maybe that's.
And secondly, I want to congratulate you on your career trajectory. It's been amazing. You've made some remarkable films, and even the films that weren't remarkable were interesting failures. So that's terrific.
Welcome to Buffalo.
I mean,
that was the guy that shot the puck at me, because he's still shooting him at me. Can you believe that?
But what I want to ask you is how you've obviously have a great capacity for judging what a good script is, and because the projects you seem to have involved in have been all quality work, and I assume not every script you've seen has been something that you've taken. I want to say that at least something we at Maryvale at some point we turned you into a good reader. I was with you in a few classes. I think you've shown extraordinary taste, and I wonder what you've turned down. I mean, what's the process involved with your taking a film or a project as opposed to not taking it?
Good question.
It's a wonderful question. I think that's something that is developed over time. Also, too, you have to remember, when I moved to New York in the summer of 1978, it's not that I didn't want to work in film. I wanted to learn how to act. I didn't even audition for the first couple of years that I was there. I felt like I don't know. I'm not ready for that. I wasn't looking to be famous. I wanted to be a good actor. And as much as I wanted to work in films, I was not hired for my first film until I was 36 years old. That's a lot of years to be there and never giving up and saying it's okay, I can do it. A lot of encouragement, a lot of phone calls with my mother about that, and all the way through. And but as the older I got, and the more it became, not that it was ever about being famous, it became more for me about being a better actor, and I cared more about reading things. And and I would read things. I'll tell you a story exactly about that. I was asked to audition by a very big casting director, big film casting director in New York, and you want to get in those offices as a young actor, and I was maybe in my late 20s, and I read the script, and I liked the script, and it ended up being a pretty famous movie, but there was a part in it of a guy that was a pedophile. And I was then figuring out that I really want to be true to a character. And I read that script, and I said to my agent at the time, I don't want to do that. I'm not judging it. I just don't, it's just not for me. I don't want to go there. And they couldn't believe it and were really upset with me. They told that casting director, he's not coming in for it. That casting director never saw me again for another movie, ever, for the next 20-some years that I lived in New York. But I don't care. I kept going and looking for the things. And sometimes I would read a script. First of all, I'm looking for overall, do I love the story? Do I believe the story? Is it a good script? What do I think of the part? What do I think of the part in the script? Because for me, when I take on a role, my part of the puzzle is I'm not directing the film, not that one, but what I want to do is I have to fully realize that part. I want to make that part work in that story. So I hope I'm answering your question by you don't know and you keep looking. There are times when listen, I'll give you an example. I met, you know who Roland Emmerich is? He's made the monster movies, Independence Day 20 years ago, Stargate, and so many huge films. And I met him while working on Black Hawk Down in Morocco in 2001 because he came to visit a friend who was an actor on the film, and we had dinner together. Fast forward 17 years, I get a call last spring. Roland Emmerich would like to meet you. He has a role in his new Independence Day movie he wants to talk to you about. I was like, that's fantastic. So I go to meet Roland, and he's great. He's great. It was the end of the day, and he's super German with a heavy accent. Would you like to, drink some wine? And I'm like, sure. So we ended up drinking a bottle of wine, and he was telling me all about it, and he said, this is the role, and I want you to read it. And I said, great, gave me the script, went home, read it right away, called my agent the next day. I said, love the movie. It's so cool. It's going to be great. There's only really one thing I didn't really care for in the whole movie, and that's the role he asked me to look at. I didn't like the role. I thought he was, you know what? I played bad guys, I played rough guys, but I never played the asshole of a piece. The guy that has no redeeming qualities whatsoever. I have to find something that a character cares about, because then I can make him real. But if he's just the absolute worst person in the world, I don't know what to do with it. And I turn him down all the time. So I said to my agent, I'd love to be a part of this film, but not that role. So I said, can you get me a conversation with Roland? Because I didn't have his number. So he hooked it up, and a couple of days later, I talked to Roland, and we set up a certain time. He called me. He's like, hi, Billy. So I spoke to him on the phone, and I said, listen, Roland, I love the movie. It's going to be awesome. I don't like that part. And he's like, I said, but there's another role. There's a role of a general, and I don't want to give away too much, that becomes the president. And I said, I like that role. And he was like, yeah, that's fine, Bill, and he said, and it's great for the sequel, because then you're the president, And believe me, I'm thinking the same thing. Yeah, it's fantastic. You'd be like, president and everything. So he was like, fine. So I did that role. And that comes out this summer, 4th of July.
I first want to say thank you for coming today.
My pleasure.
What are your personal favorite movies and books?
Personal favorite films? The Graduate is my all-time favorite film. I was dating a girl in high school named Jenny Tadaro, and her family always took a vacation in the summer for like 2 weeks, that, your first love. And I remember when they went away for 2 weeks, I was like, I can't live. So I went up to the Holiday Showcase theaters to go and see a movie And then, as everybody did, I finished that movie, and like a minute before it ended, you know, you run out and run into the next movie. And I ran into The Graduate, and I think I went back to see The Graduate the next like 5 days in a row. I just was the most romantic thing. I just couldn't, and to this day, it's my all-time favorite film. But I have a lot of favorite films. I do. You know what I think are your favorite films? The ones that when you're flipping the station at 2 o'clock in the morning when you wake up on the couch and that movie's on and you can't turn the channel and you're gonna stay up. Godfather 1 and 2. How are you gonna shut that off? 3 Days of the Condor. Movies that, Strictly Ballroom. It's this Australian film about ballroom dancing. I don't know what, it's one of those two that, like, you know, at the end when they're dancing, I'm like, so there's a few, but thank you for asking.
Another question?
Gentlemen.
Bill, first of all of the famous actors, actresses, and recording stars that have come from Western New York, there's only really like you and the Goo Goo Dolls who have really been involved. You've come back here, you've been great ambassadors for the area, and I think every one of the people in this room today and all of this community is so thankful to you for that, first of all. Just want to make that. And my question was, the first thing I had seen you on was, of course, As the World Turns, before I even knew you were from the area. And now with there being, what is it, less than half of the soap operas that there initially were on the air at the time that you were on As the World Turns, now today, a lot of people think down on that as being a lesser form of acting and of drama. What did that do for you and for your career, your experience on As the World Turns?
So glad you asked the question. I'm going to tell you, I remember it. I was out of work for, nothing, for months, maybe 6-8 months, and I got 2 jobs in one day. And as I was in my late 20s, I got a play at Portland Rep doing Lanford Wilson's 5th of July, which was for, I don't know, maybe $300 a week was the going rate for doing a regional theater play. And I got As the World Turns the same day offered, and I didn't know what to do. It was the toughest decision because I was like, I don't want to be a soap opera actor. And I thought about it, and believe me, you'd make a lot more money on a television show, even a daytime television show back then. And I chose As the World Turns. It seemed the thing to do. But since you brought it up, I have to tell you this because I was laughing about it with my wife the other day. I don't know why it came up. See, that's the thing I tell young actors too. Young actors go, should I go to LA? Should I go to New York? I tell them all, go to New York. Walk the streets of New York. Go to theater. It's where you learn, you get a process, a way of working. In LA, you walk into audition for a television show. If you get the job, whatever you did on videotape, that's what they want you to do when you go back. New York, there's a process. You're on stage, you're rehearsing, you're doing things. So I'm always doing play readings and stuff like that in New York. Anything you can do, and you meet, other actors and writers, and we're all young. We all have no credits, and we're all trying to do it. And I went to a play reading, and out of that, a casting director was a friend who was the casting director for As the World Turns. And I got a call a couple of weeks later, and he said, would you come in and audition? And I was like, sure. I don't know if that's what I'm looking for, but sure. So I went in, and I met the producers on the show. No, first I auditioned for it. I auditioned for it for the 2 casting directors. Then they called me back to the producers. And every time I went in, they were like, you're a little young for it because you have a daughter. And, I was late 20s. You have a daughter who's like 16. You're a little young for it, but we really like what you're doing. And then they call me back again, and I meet the producers, and they're like, that was really good. You're a little young for it. And I said, I know, I've heard that. So then I finally get a call. They said, we're going to test you. We're going to screen test you. It's nerve-wracking. I'd never really been in front of a camera. So we're going to do the screen test, not on the stage where they shoot the show on 57th Street at CBS, but we're going to go on like one of those AM or Good Morning shows, whatever the CBS one is. So we're going to do the scene, a kitchen scene. It takes place in a kitchen on this kitchen set. And you're going to do it with the goody two-shoes, this character named Betsy, Lindsay Frost was the actress. You're going to do the scene with her on this show. So I'm feeling pretty good. The other two guys that are testing, they're like 10 years older than me because I'm a little young for it. And I'm thinking to myself, they're going to get it. I don't look like I have a 16-year-old daughter. I met the girl who plays my daughter. She should be my girlfriend. We got chemistry. It's like weird. It's weird. But it's a soap, right? So, listen, when I left the soap, I ended up marrying my cousin. So go ahead, whatever. I don't want to get into it. But so we get on the set, and the audition starts, and I'm feeling pretty good about the way this is going. The nerves are going away. I'm feeling good. And there's a set piece of like this, like I said, it was a kitchen set. And there was a big central kitchen thing that had whatever stuff, like kitchen stuff and pots and pans. And I'm talking to her, and I'm feeling good. And I was like, and I just leaned on it, as I'm kind of leaning on it, and it starts to roll. It's on wheels, and I'm like engaging my core and my inner thighs as the thing starts to roll away. And all I'm thinking is this great audition is going right out the window, buddy. I finally had to do one of those, Anyway, I got the job. But what I did for the next 2 years on that show was be in front of a camera every day. Every day. I was quite sure in the first 3 or 4 months that the boom was picking up my heartbeat, because it's nerve-wracking. But eventually it didn't anymore, and eventually, it went on. And by the time I left there, I look back on working on As the World Turns, because I'll tell you right now, last summer, an example, or working on Lone Ranger, and I'm thinking of shows that have a crew of 250, 275 people, and huge cameras, and putting them literally, setting up the shot an inch, a foot and a half from your nose. And I have to tell you, that's my happy place. I'm most calm when all of that is going on. It's my most happy place. I'm the calmest I can be. That happened because of working on As the World Turns and being in front of that camera every day. So I'm grateful for that.
I want to thank everybody for their questions. We have run out of time, I'm told, but I do want to share just one important thing. A couple of years ago, in New York State, the legislature enacted a film tax credit that would make it attractive for films to film in the Empire State. And that was great, but what was happening is all the films were being done in New York City because they could compete. And what happened is Tim Clark and Rich Wall and Bill Fichtner and me, we came up with an idea, and we said, if we're going to bring them to our region, then we need to get an extra benefit, an extra percentage. And so this guy came back to Buffalo on his own. We had set up a meeting with all of our elected representatives at that time, our senators and assemblymen, and we told them, we said, if we got this, the extra add-on, because it's all about money when you're making a film. I think Bill would say that trying to make a film, you look at the bottom line to see if it's going to be affordable. And they all said, we will take this in and we'll see if we can get it. Well, they did get it. And what the proof is, and that was because of Bill and Mayor Brown and our county executive, all of these people signed on and lobbied in Albany so that we would have this extra in Buffalo. And that's why you're seeing the activity. So that, thank you, Mayor Brown. Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Mark Cars. So, it's one of those little-known facts, but when you can tell he's a good guy. And he does come back to this city when it needs help, and you did help a lot. So I thank all of you for being great questioners, and you in particular, Mr. Simon.
My pleasure.
And Melissa, do you want to round this off?
I, too, Thank you. I too would like to thank all of you for being here today. We really would not be able to do this at the History Museum without all of you. I know we have a very famous actor up here, but it takes the energy of both of you and our members. I'd like to also thank the Board of Managers and the staff here at the History Museum, as well as everyone who's already been mentioned today for bringing this event together. We have an award, our first inaugural Behind the Screen, to William Fichtner for your amazing story. Double awards today.
And it's my day.
It's your day. It's your day, and you've gotten 2 awards today. So thank you so much for coming here and sharing your story. I think one of the things that has always resonated with me about history is the story aspect of it. I was not a really great history student coming up through school, and we've talked a lot today, or heard a lot of stories today about teachers and teachers making an impression and turning you. And I think talking to people and hearing their stories, whether it's your grandmother or your teacher or someone you go to school with, that makes a person, and it throws the trajectory of your life, which I've heard several times today you say you took a different path because of somebody impacting you, and that's the nuance of history. That's what we celebrate here. There are stories that happened 200 years ago that still impact us today, and that's why I think history is important. So thank you for sharing your story with us today, and really bringing a top-notch event to the History Museum. We were burgeoning. We were turning people away, and I've been here when we were trying to beg people to come in, so good place to be. So thank you, and thank you, Jeff. I could tell you really prepared well for your questions, and thank you.
Very nice. One more for good measure.
Good job, Joe.
Thanks.
Mr. Simon, thank you. It was great. Glad.
Thank you, sir. Hi.